Welcome to Nerdarchy. We turn imagination into reality. I'm Nerdarchists Dave, and joined by the Moisture of Mayhem himself.
Nerdarchists Ted. Greetings, adventurers, artists, and rebels. Today we're digging into how creativity survives under the boot of power.
Songs that become rallying, graffiti carved in a prison hole of a skyship to Etherball songs that become rallying cries. Art in our world's existence. Diving into how music, performance, and craft even flourishes beneath the watchful eye of repression.
Aether Skies, in a world of floating cities where art is often regulated or even weaponized. Expression becomes an act of rebellion. We'll explore street performers, band songs, and the dangerous beauty of ether-infused art.
And under the dome, crystal-crushed cities, murals are painted over where the colors dry, but artists still find...
Aether Skies is a dark steampunk fantasy world of floating cities powered by volatile ether and haunted by ancient horrors. While each city hovers in skies above the cursed world, they look down just as harshly on those they deem lesser. Xenophobia fuels isolation, propaganda, and social control. Links to our first ever Aether Skies 5e D&D The Sky Remembers game are down in the description below.
When the Sky Cities, art becomes a battleground for identity. Official culture is state-sanctioned, human-centric, and paralyzed pretty. Non-human art, dwarven dirges, elven light weaving, kobold graffiti is outlawed, mocked, or stolen, and repackaged yet survives in hidden concerts, encoded murals, and immersive plays before galleries.
All right, so let's dive into a couple talking points. So first we've got Kerfuffle's Kobold Underground. The impoverished kobold city of Kerfluffle, band, theater, and music flourish in tenement tunnels. Kobolds use trash music, rhythmic banging on scrap metal, and repurposed noise to both resist and survive.
Unfortunately, kobolds in Aether Skies, whether you're talking about Granglehold or Kerfluffle, the two places where they're the most prominent, they're kind of an underclass of citizens who are better or worse, but they still seem to eke out a survive no matter what. And with that, not only they survive, but they thrive and create their own cultures. And with that comes various forms of art, music, sculpting, painting, or graffiti, as were mentioned. And I could definitely see like kobolds in either Granglehold having like jug bands.
Sure. So I think it could even go a step further than just this trash music, multi-layered. First and foremost, all right, this music is a signature thing to the kobolds. It's meant to let people know this is where we are. But for those that's in the know, it's a siren's call. This is okay. This is where we're gathering. And it might only go for so long. Well, if the resistance is drawing in, you got to start listening for the music and find it before the performance stops. But it could also be a whole nother level of, well, while this trash music is playing, it's a cover for any covert communication, because no one's going to be able to listen into whispers when someone's whispering in a back alley or in an underground marketplace over top of the music that's being played. So you can have all of these safe conversations without fear of things being overheard, because you've got this as a backdrop.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, too, I feel like the music itself and also like graffiti and different forms of art is the perfect place to slip in like Thieves' Camp. And all the Thieves Guilds and the CD side of the city probably have their own versions, right? Almost like a dialect, so that they communicate with each other,
Right.
but not necessarily if someone is another gang or a criminal organization, they would easily pick up on what you're doing, right? They may get the gist of some of it.
Yeah, they might be able to pick up, okay, there's a message here, but they might have to hear it a couple of times to really know what exactly is being said, depending upon how thick you want your dialect to be.
So we have not really touched music and art too much in Aether Skies, other than like kind of like backdrop stuff, like where like the elven city of Fallcrest is very naturally for what it is. They get as much greenery as they can. Although all the cities in a sense kind of do that anyway out of necessity. Like they're using whatever they can in farming, right? So, but the elves, they elevate it to a different level. Right? They're going to make it also gardening, express themselves. Where Granglehold is a huge kobold population of that, and they are masters, kind of like what is it called? Upcycling, right? Where they're constantly looking for stuff that other people have thrown away in order to make useful things out of it. But they say one man's trash, so they're constantly using that stuff just in their day-to-day lives. But why wouldn't they also rebuild art and express themselves, even without any kind of a oppressive regime hovering over top of them? They would still do it just to entertain themselves. I feel like they have their own culture, artists. So maybe that's one of the things we have to look into a little bit more. The Kobold Art Gallery, Aether Skies, would definitely be different. I almost would see.
I think so.
I would almost see it like maybe like a bunch of inventions that don't actually do, like it does stuff, but it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, but it's not anything that Yeah, I mean, like it's like your fidget toys or your Rube Goldberg machines. Like you can make something that does something, but at the end of the day, does that provide a value? Does that fill a niche, a void, if you will? Or does it, it's making something to make something's sake? And I think that there's probably a lot of kobolds that go down that road just to kind of keep busy, just because there's not not a huge amount going on.
So like in Aether Skies, right? You've got gnomes, kobolds, and dwarves, and the three of them are the most industrious when it comes to tinkering and making. They all kind of do it in their, and I could definitely see kobolds making things for this. It doesn't have to actually, they're like just overjoyed to make the wheels turn, make it squeak, make it shoot steam out. And like that to me is like, I think that's going to be one of the arts that they express and that they're kind of known for. And you could even do a thing where like you have a gentrification of a neighborhood or an area or something, and all of a sudden they want to bring in these kobold artists, right? Because they're so impressive and it's so different. It could be like Aether Skies, Xantara's version of modern art, where most people look at it and go, not a thing. But amongst certain circles and cliques, these kobold artists are starting to become celebrity. Maybe they're brought into some high-end art galleries in order to show off bring that influence.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way to incorporate those elements into these floating cities, that space is premium and every resource is a commodity. It's kind of crazy how things can get.
Yeah, it just adds more depth to the world. But what about Theopolis and holy art censorship? A city of only approved hymns and religious iconography are legal. Art from other cultures must be purified or destroyed. Black market and businesses are traded to protect hidden works of multiple art. The Theopolis is our kind of our holy city, our theocracy, and they're kind of the antithesis what has become Xantara in the sense that the ruling class, and many of the citizens, well, because they indoctrinate, they don't like magic, don't like ether, don't want it used, want it to go away, and they want to. And the church's mission is to return to the world and leave the skies, and also right now they view it as a necessary evil because it is keeping civilization thriving and surviving. They want to go back to the old way, be done with magic. So in Theopolis, art is going to be looked at very differently. It's going to be very much they're going to probably have things that are approved and things that aren't approved. But I think they also like open it up for a thriving black market. Right? The more you tell people they can't have something or do something, the more they're going to.
I look at this as an amazing situation where in a setting that doesn't really have a divine presence, we still have a holy and religious city. So that makes things a lot more fun to be able to play with. And if art has to be approved, you have the capability of a little bit of the subterfuge, the image hidden within the image, or as you said, black market for things that are not approved could be massive in a place like this. You could run a whole campaign of just acquiring this kind of art and getting it to the right source, to ducking the law and getting one over on the man, if you will.
And that being said, like even like the churches of Theopolis, of the anti-ether are from there, and they take it to the next level. They are zealots, right? But even so, right, like the music of the church could also be a beautiful thing as well, and also you use to lure people in and build up the sense of camaraderie. So they probably have orchestras and choirs, and I probably would kind of model it a bit off of Christian churches, especially like the Catholic Church, all that pomp and circumstance. And those places are going to be filled with holy and religious relics, which in and of themselves are pieces of, right? What happens like if your crew is hired to pull a heist from the church, right, and steal something just because someone thinks that, oh, this is an art from a collection, right? That could be a plot hook right there. There could be hidden meanings in the relics of art, right? Where one of the organizations or even the other need to get a hold of it because the church is so old and the relics date so far that perhaps are getting messages to instruct the clergy and the faithful how to proceed. But the stuff might be so old, maybe they don't even know it. So like as an agent of the body, you have to influence the church and either procure these items studied and secrets can be gone, or even maybe you have to from there undercover, bring back the information, which could be super risky because the church is not very forgiving. If nothing else, they can be a bit harsh.
Absolutely. Yeah. But that's not all the skies have to offer. What about the Etherball subversion? Etherball teams from marginalized cities embed subtle symbols into their uniforms and halftime performances. The crowd may cheer the game, but for those who know the codes, every match is a declaration. We exist, we matter.
All right. So, I mean, to a certain extent, we see that in the real world. Like that Super Bowl halftime performance, right? And there's where that one was pretty much in your face and very obvious, depending what stadium you're playing in, what message they're trying to get across, it might be more subtle. But again, too, like for some, Etherball is a sport. For others, it's like a way of life. But it's not art per se. It's still a big part of culture.
It's still a performance.
It is still a performance. It's still entertainment. So, and this is something we had made a bigger part of the game. And in the previous games, the Etherball teams were a bigger deal, and the players always wanted to know what was going on, who was winning. In this game, your character, a big Etherball fan, and I believe the captain, to a lesser extent, is as well. But it is just another way for the population to express themselves, for the players to have their characters express themselves in the game. And that's one of the reasons why in this season of the Skies, we opened up with meeting at another ball match in one of the skyboxes, right? Like, and those places are probably heavily decorated into beautiful and expensive art as well. So using art and music in D&D is a great way to kind of set the backdrop in your settings to kind of differentiate different cultures and why they gravitate towards these things, why these things them. And also in some places it could just be like, what's the new hot fad? What's the big thing right now? And I feel like that could be a cool thing to bring up just kind of nonchalantly from different sessions to sessions as background. This is the backdrop to what's going on for your exploration, social encounters, maybe even your combat. I mean, I've used murals and friezes, carvings just to kind of like give lore to the world that we play in, right? This has come up in our previous Aether Skies, but other D&D games as well. It's a great way to lore dump without lore dump.
Yeah, I mean, if the players find something and you describe it and they inquire, you have the ability to literally use that thing that they've expressed interest in to give them knowledge. Stepping out of Aether Skies, our Ulfgania, or whatever you want to refer to our last setting, we ran games that we put up online, and those things became canon to the world. Well, because characters write journals, in one of my later games, my kids' game, they found something that somebody had written. So like they were inquiring about it, and like they had literally found an old journal from one of my characters. So it was kind of like putting the campaign elements that from your game into the world through this other lens point. When they found out a game, they thought that was a really cool way to share other events that had transpired.
Yeah, absolutely. So think about those things when you're writing your campaigns and your gaming prep to throw on in there.
So big thanks for hanging out with us tonight and sharing your rebellious art songs. Y'all make the chat feel like a gallery of imagination every week. So thanks.
And if you had a good time, hit that like and give us a sub and click the bell so you don't miss next week. Stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.